Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.wordpress.com. Thank you for joining me again today for another card making tutorial. And it's Monday, colour challenge, and these are the colours today. We've got Early Espresso, Calypso Coral, Petal Pink. Okay, so Calypso Coral isn't a colour that I use a lot, as I discovered when I pulled out my cardstock and found that I've got several sheets of that I haven't used. Early Espresso is a really great neutral and a super alternative to black when you're doing stamping. And then we've got our gorgeous Petal Pink, really lovely feminine colour. So there we are, those are the colours that we're using. We'll just slip those to one side and we are going to recreate this card. Now this uses two new stamp sets which just literally leapt out of the catalogue for me. Okay, Biggest Wish, bold sentiments, really brilliant to have something that's really bold in sort of a chunky kind of almost masculine sort of font. Lovely words, and then we've got exactly the same words in this lovely quirky curly font as well. Okay, so obviously we compare some of those up as well, either in the same font, different fonts, that kind of thing. So I think that's really cute. And then we've got this just this little extra little crisscrossy thing in there, which actually I might add that in. Shall we get that out? And that gives me an opportunity just to show you the new style stamp cases again, with the stamp printed on that back. I do like to keep the film over the top, just to keep them dust free really, as well, so they're in there as well. So I'm going to put that onto a little A block. Let's grab an A block. I will incorporate that into our design as well, just because we can really. And then we have watercolour shapes. Okay, it doesn't look like a terribly exciting stamp set, of course, but I had a little bit of a think and I thought, yeah, actually, do you know what, stuff we could do with this. And if you don't want to die cut or matte and layer or anything like that, this is going to be able to add that kind of texture to a card without necessarily adding bulk. So the sample card is completely flat, you see, right? Okay, now that's not to say that we couldn't jazz this up a little bit, but I'm going to keep it super simple. This is something anybody could create with and doesn't really require practice or anything. You just need to know how to ink up a stamp. So that's what we're going to do. And of course there is a million and one colours we could be using with this. This just happens to be the colour combo that we are working with today. So I've got my Calypso Coral card base, so 4 1/8 scored at 5 7/8 of an inch. That's the combo there. Just so there's a bit more of the border sort of showing, I've actually cut my Petal Pink layer slightly smaller than I would do normally. So that's a 1/4 of an inch shorter now. Okay, so if I remember, let me just double check the measurement and just make sure I'm telling you the right one. Yes, so it is 3 3/4 by 5 1/2, I think. Yeah, 5 1/2. Okay, so that's what that is. And then the white layer we're stamping on is just 1/8 shorter, so it's going to be 3 5/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so that's what we're using today to make our card. So we're going to slip that layer away for the moment and let's just do our stamping. I'm just going to bring in, it's a photopolymer set, so I'm just going to bring in this foam mat. This is actually this is retired, I'm sorry to say. It may turn up in the clearance rack, but we do have the Stampin' Pierce mat. I do have a Stampin' Pierce mat, but I've got no idea where I've put it. Which you can stamp onto, but this is quite nice. So this was the foam insert that you could get with the Stamparatus tool that you could buy separately. So if you've got a Stamparatus, you'll have this. But you can't buy it separately anymore. And then I'm just putting some grid paper over the top of that, or we could just stamp on grid paper. that's the other alternative. You can either stamp straight onto this, or you can stamp straight onto this grid paper pattern. Okay, so we've got some alternatives. This is available. Let's use this, but I do like to use my foam mat as well. So this is the small grid paper that matches your Stamparatus tool if you have one, but I like to have it kicking around. I've got a few packets of it rather than the big pad. Okay, so I've got the two circular images from the watercolour shapes there that we are going to add to this card. So I'm going to use the petal pink as the lightest colour. Now I don't want this big large circle. That wasn't terribly good going around, was it? But I don't want this to overpower the card. If I'd stamped it in Calypso Coral, I think it would have been a little overpowering, even on second generation ink. It is quite a deep colour. So we're going with the petal pink for this. And like I say, I wanted this to kind of be the backdrop for the sentiment that we're going to add to it, okay? So, as you might expect by the name, it doesn't stamp a completely clear image, solid image. It's got this sort of splotchiness to it, like you would get with a watercolour technique. So, without sticking my fingers in the ink pad, preferably, just wanted to just put this under the camera so that you can see me just doing light tapping over the ink pad. I'm not pressing into my ink pad, I'm just gently, twizzling it around, because your ink in your ink pad may not be evenly distributed, and that just helps to make sure your stamp is evenly coated with ink. Okay, so just light tapping. I've gone straight onto the cardstock. You can see it, I'm pressing down. Okay, just firm pressure. I'm not doing like CPR on it or anything. Just to hold that in place, and it transfers the ink. And if you have a little hair cut on it, it'll transfer across as well, but we won't worry about it. That's what having a cat in the house adds a little bit of that into your crafty world as well, and did too on the other one. But those of you who've watched me before know I like the rule of 3, so let's plop one down there as well, just so that you get a different look. Just see what you think, really. Okay, and I might just take off that remainder ink just there. That's called second generation. Okay, it's going to be super pale. You may not even be able to see it. Okay, I think I might do a bit more of that actually. Let's just put another bit of that down the bottom. So what I'm going to do is stamp on this paper to take off the first layer of ink, and then I'm going to add that down the bottom there. Okay, so that's come out a little bit darker again. There we are. So we've built our background. That's the petal pink. You can go to town with that. You could cover it, have it all over, because where it overlaps you're going to get different colours. So, you know, just have some fun with it really. Calypso Coral's next. Now, I did use the first generation ink for this, and I don't know whether it's a little overpowering, so I'm going to skip the first generation ink, I think, and just go with seconds and thirds. Okay, so again, light tapping on the ink pad, using a smaller block to match the size of the stamp that I'm using, and we're going to go 1 and 2. Turn the stamp so that you don't get that splodge. It almost looks like a heart to me, actually, to be fair. We don't really want it orientated in the same way everywhere along our card, because it's going to look a little odd. So if you just turn it just a few degrees each time, you're going to get a different look on your image. Okay, so we're stamping, turning, overlapping. It's kind of like a bokeh. Is that how you pronounce it? Someone will tell me. Someone will know better than me what this is called. Okay. Now to me, I feel like there's a big gap here where there's not enough going on. So let's just put a hint in there of something. I'm going to stamp twice and then put in a third generation one over there. And maybe just a hint of something down here as well. Okay, so you carry on doing this and make a background that appeals to you. Okay, alright, and like I say, 1,000,001 colours you could be using to create this this card, literally. Okay, so that all looks very untidy. Let's just tear that off, replace it, and then we'll bring in our early espresso for our sentiments. So these fit beautifully on the H block. If you're just starting out, this block, the H block, and the one I had the large circle on D are possibly the ones I use the most in my stamping stash. So if you are thinking which ones would be a good start, those would be my personal recommendations. I'm sure others will have other opinions, but that is my personal opinion. Now I want this sentiment to overlap these circles in different ways. I want it overlapping different bits and bobs, so I'm going to go there with this one. Okay, a little bit off to one side on the original, but you know, it's your card, you put it wherever you want. Okay, and again we're just doing light tapping on the ink. Okay, now I made the original sample with the friend at an angle. I'm going to try and do it straight-ish this time, as straight gets, right? And there is our little element, right? So this is that little element. Now, another good thing about your grid paper is that you can just try out your ink before you commit to the card. So this is going to look good. So those of you who've watched before will know I like my trios of what do you call it, embellishments and stuff. Oops, don't rock on your stamp, got away with it. And this is sort of going to do that job for me, but we're going a little further with it than we would do normally. Okay. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. Won't overdo it, just wanted to add something else to the background, that was all. Okay, that will do. Could have just got away with the 3, I guess, but you know, it's entirely up to you. I can see, now let me refresh my memory, because I think the large circle and the rectangle go with some of the dies, and there's a possibility that the oval matches with one of the punches. So if I just bring in the catalogue for a second, and we can turn to the index at the back and look for watercolour shapes. This index is really, really useful. So watercolour shapes is on page 102. Now this might be a little thing that you haven't necessarily realised in the catalogue. So here's the stamp set. Yes, so that's what I thought. Right, so can you see that there's like a line around that image? That's indicating to me that the double oval punch will fit that particular image. Okay, there's also one around the large circle, the small circle, and the rectangle. So, and then at the bottom it says coordinates with the double oval punch, layering circles, and stitched rectangles. So those are the ones that coordinate with that particular stamp set. So what I was going to say was that sentiment there, if we wanted it to pop a little more from the card rather than stamping straight on, we could have used one of the watercolour circles, die cut it, and had the sentiment on there, and that'll add another dimension to your card as well. So if you wanted something a little more jazzy, that's what we could do. Alright, so just putting it together now. Okay, so we'll just use our Stampin' Seal. I really love this quick and convenient tape runner. You'll see me use it loads. I just love it. Just get into a mess with wet glue. It has its place, the wet glue, but for the just layering like this, I think the tape runners are just brilliant. Okay. Right, so I've got the red tape showing there. So this is now actually run out of tape, and I need to put in a refill. So I just open up the case like so, and this can be removed, and then we can put a refill in, which I already had. I knew it was going to run out soon, so they come in these lovely little individual packets that we can then use. The little crosses there will indicate where that needs to go into your stamp handle, your, what do you call this, base handle thing. Okay, and then you're ready to go. All you need to do is just make sure it's rolled on, just so that you've got your tape ready to go, and away we go again. Okay, so the refills are really good value, so you can buy a couple of the handles and then just buy refills, which saves you a bit of money. And because it's strong, you don't necessarily use as much either, so you don't need to go around every edge. You can just some of the other demos literally just put it in a couple of corners. I just like to make sure it's stuck down along the sides, really, so I don't do that. Okay, so the cards there, I've got two, using exactly the same colourway. Like I say, just chuck in whatever you want. I think this would look really good in blues as well. I can see some sort of pool party and balmy blue, maybe a bit of Night of Navy or Misty Moonlight being put into there. Oh, the new in colours are going to look super with that. Fresh Freesia, Pale Papaya and Polished Pink I think would look fabulous in this stamp set as well. Okay, so I hope that's been enjoyable and given you some ideas on how you can use the set. Just a drop in the ocean really of what you can actually do with it. Okay, thanks ever so much for joining me today. As always, the links are going to be in the description. Do appreciate you stopping by and commenting. Thank you ladies who do that on a regular basis. Really love it. And I love that I've been able to give you some hints and tips along the way as well. So thanks for that. Alright, take care everybody. Please stay safe out there. See you later.